Hello, thank you for having me here today. My name is Astrid Northrup. I'm a registered professional engineer, and I teach engineering science and math at Northwest College in Powell, Wyoming. Let me tell you one of my greatest frustrations as an engineer. Whenever I meet another person and they ask, "What do you do?" and I say, "I'm an engineer. I teach engineering science and math." If that person is a woman, she will often say, "I'm not good at math. I hate math," or "I really can't do math at all." And I wonder what happened to her to make her believe this about herself. I wondered if women being proficient in math was a new experience, and I looked into some historical anecdotes about women in math. I found that the engineering college I graduated from, the Montana Technological University, had opened its doors in 1900, and the first class graduated in 1904. As an engineering college, MTU has always had limited number of majors, but in 1904 there were only two majors, electrical engineering and mining engineering. That year, the first class had 8 graduates, 2 of whom were women, and one of those women was the valedictorian. So historically, this pointed to a history of women being good at math, and there are many other examples, including women in the space program that was documented in the movie Hidden Figures, and women teaching math throughout the United States for years. Women have always been good at math, and yet we seem to be an overlooked segment of the population in some ways. Currently in the United States, an extreme gender inequity exists in engineering profession and engineering education. In colleges across the country right now, over 50% of students are women, and yet in engineering programs, only about 18% of students are women, compared to 64% of humanities students who are women. And so if women are not bad at math, can I make a case for this as women go into college, as I try to describe why women choose not to go into engineering? The literature indicates not only that girls are as good at math as boys, but that by many measures they're actually better. For example, high school girls take more math and science credits than their male classmates, and on average, high school girls have higher grade point averages in math and science than their male classmates. And yet, for some reason, only 18% of them pursue engineering compared to many more of their male counterparts. Further research indicates that self-perception of math ability is not directly related to actual math ability for women. When women are asked to compare their math ability to the math ability of their classmates, they tend to underestimate their ability compared to that of men. This perception has roots in childhood experiences, stereotype threat, and family of origin. The stereotype threat is an interesting thing that happens to women, and it's been tested many, many times in literature. And it kind of works like this. In an experiment, researchers give a math test to 2 groups of female and male college students who have similar math abilities. One group is told males perform better than females do on the test, and the other group is told that there is no gender difference. Female performance improves when there is no stereotype threat and diminishes when there is a threat. This result is shown repeatedly in other studies. Interestingly, the threat-no threat scenario has no measurable effect on male performance, and men tend to overestimate their own ability and underestimate the ability of women. Family and psychosocial factors also play an important role. Parental expectations, goal setting, socioeconomic status, and math achievement of the parents all play into a woman and a man's pursuit of a mathematical career. But some family variables, especially those involved with identity formation, tend to favor males and not favor females when pursuing engineering as a career. In fact, families who have same gender sibling groups, as in all girls or all boys, tend to have different career goals than family from mixed gender sibling groups. So what leads a person to choose engineering as a major? First, there's ability in engineering and math. As we all know, math is the most important tool to study engineering and to study the physical world. And for that reason, a certain level of ability is required. For men, prior achievement seems to encourage them to study math or engineering, whereas for women, prior achievement seems to be overlooked. The perception of gender roles, specifically if engineering is viewed as being a masculine profession, discourages women from studying engineering, and the self-concept of ability seems to be more important for women than their actual ability in terms of generating an expectation of success. And finally, a growth mindset versus a fixed mindset has an impact on all students, but is primarily a focus for women who consider studying engineering. In the book Grit, author Angela Duckworth said that we humans love a natural, that talent seems magical and glamorous, whereas practice and hard work are more pedestrian. But K-12 teachers and college teachers can emphasize the possibility of growth, of developing ability, rather than viewing ability as inherent and permanent. Teachers can emphasize that ability is accomplished rather than something inherent. This mindset, referred to as a growth mindset, is essential for everyone, but is especially important for females in engineering, because encountering obstacles and challenging problems is the nature of engineering work. When females believe they only have a fixed amount of intelligence and ability, they are more likely to lose confidence and disengage from engineering when they inevitably encounter difficulties. And as I said, this is true for all students, but is particularly relevant for females in engineering, where negative stereotypes persist about their abilities. So considering how early girls make decisions about whether or not to study engineering, I went back to my original observation that many female engineers tend to come from all-girl families. To study whether this was just a perception or whether it was statistically significant, I developed a questionnaire entitled the Family of Origin Questionnaire to answer the question, is family of origin configuration a factor in choosing a college major? I specifically wanted to study what % of female engineers have brothers, because it had seemed to me that very few female engineers have brothers. And I also wanted to know, is this % different than other groups, and is it different from survey respondents as a whole? So I conducted the survey between February and March of 2017, and I received 182 responses. Of these 82, overall 70% of them had brothers, whereas only 47% of the female engineers had brothers. Using SPSS and Excel to perform t-tests, I found that the difference is statistically significant, and that in fact, on this survey, fewer female engineers have brothers, with a z-score of negative 1.7882 and a p-value of less than 0.05. So in conclusion, girls' perception of math ability is not correlated to their actual ability, and they actually tend to underestimate their own ability in math. Girls further think that boys are better at math than they are, whereas in fact high school girls are actually better at math than boys by several measures. And the factors that influence girls' choice of major begin in early childhood and include the gender of their siblings. I thank you for your attention today, and I look forward to any questions.